This is a quick tutorial on setting an SQL DSN with Kennel Connection 6.0. We're on a Windows 7 32-bit machine. And to get started, click on your Start menu, choose Control Panel, and if you're seeing a category view like this, it's much easier to change it to a small icon view like this. You then want to click on Administrative Tools and double-click on Data Sources ODBC. And as always, click on the System DSN tab. Now if you were using an Access version of Kennel Connection, you would see an Access DSN set here. Because we're switching to SQL or SQL, you'd want to click on it and choose Remove. Now if you were running a 64-bit version of Windows, you could find out by going to your Start menu, right mouse click on Computer, and choose Properties. And you notice right in the middle here it says 32-bit. This would say 64-bit. If you were using a 64-bit operating system, to get to this administrator screen would be slightly different. What you would need to do is click on your Start menu, and instead of coming to Control Panel, you're going to type a little URL in the search bar. And I'm going to go ahead and paste it there for you so you can see what it is. And you can see here it's Windows /syswow64 /ODBCAD and the number 32. Now again, if this were a 64-bit machine, you would see a link appear up at the top where it says no items match your search. You would click on that, and that would bring you to this Data Source Administrator window where you would choose System DSN. But because again this is a 32-bit version, we can come straight through your Windows control panel. Now we need to add the SQL Server Dsn, so we'll click Add and scroll all the way to the bottom, choose SQL Server. Click on it once and click Finish. Because we're using Kennel Connection 6.0, this is going to be called wkennel 6. And now we need to choose our SQL Server. So click the drop-down arrow next to Server. And this can take anywhere from 10 seconds to a minute, sometimes longer, to come up. If it doesn't come up, or it shows you two of the same names, you may have a blocking problem from your main computer. Make sure you've added all the SQL Server exclusions to your Windows firewall. So we're going to go ahead and choose our server name and click Next. And we always want to try to use SQL Server Authentication. Windows Authentication is okay, but if you have multiple Windows users with different permissions, you can run into some errors. So we'll choose SQL Server Authentication. The login ID is going to be SA, which is the main login for your SQL Server. And the password, this was created during your SQL Server setup, but can also be located in your wkennel ini file. So we're going to go take a look at it. You can open up Computer or your File Explorer. Come into Computer and double-click on your C drive. And double-click on KC6. Scroll all the way to the bottom and find the wkennel ini file. You'll notice it doesn't say ini, but as long as it says Configuration Settings in this little pop-up, that's what we need. So we'll double-click and scroll all the way to the bottom, and you'll see your SQL Server settings here. Your PID equals, this is your password that goes with the SA. So you can highlight it, right-click, and choose Copy, or you can just memorize it. Close out the ini file, and close out of your KC6 window. Now in the password field, you can either right-click and paste, or type in your password. Click Next. We always want to make sure this database says wkennel. So we're going to put a check mark next to change the default database to. Click the drop down arrow and choose wkennel. Don't worry about anything else on the screen. Click next and click finish. Again, don't worry about anything else on this screen. We're going to go ahead and test. And as long as it says successful, you're all set. Click OK. And click OK again. And now you see you have the wkennel6 SQL Server Dsn set here. So click OK to close out. And you can now close out of your administration screen and your control panel. Now we're going to launch Kennel Connection. And once we're logged in here, we're going to test the print to make sure the Sql DSN works. Easiest report to do is the customer list. So we'll go to Reports, Lists, and Customer List. Printing to the screen in this case is fine. So we'll click OK. And I had this error come up so you could see it. This is a common error with the Sql DSN. And it asks us, do you want to run the DSN utility to correct this issue? Yes, we do. And it was successfully created. So now Kennel Connection is pointing to your new Sql DSN. We'll click OK. And we're going to test print that same list again. So we'll go back to Lists, Customer List. Screen again is fine. Click OK. And there's your list. That takes care of the Sql DSN creation for Kennel Connection 6.0. And as always, if you have any questions, feel free to give us a call. Thank you.